A huge Russian missile and drone salvo launched at Ukraine on Monday targeted energy facilities nationwide and left several people dead. Thousands of residents took shelter underground as sirens blared through Kyiv overnight. I would like to see a response to Moscow so that they will feel what we feel, says this woman. In the southern Zaporizhia region, this woman says she heard a loud explosion and sought safety. Later, she found out her brother was killed in the blast. She says she couldn't get too close because his house was blocked off. I was still shaking, and then I saw him, and I couldn't recognize him, she says. Ukrainian officials say Russia launched more than 200 missiles and drones in the attack. And neighboring NATO member Poland reported a drone had probably entered its airspace during the bombardment. Kyiv said the attack targeted power or other critical infrastructure in at least 10 regions. This is the aftermath of a strike on one power plant. Power cuts and water supply outages were reported in many areas, including parts of the capital. President Volodymyr Zelensky said work was already underway to get power flowing again. Monday's attack was the most intense in weeks. It comes as Ukraine is claiming new ground in a major cross-border incursion into Russia's southern Kursk region. Meanwhile, Russian forces are steadily inching forward in Ukraine's east. Both Russia and Ukraine deny deliberately targeting civilians. Each says its attacks are aimed at destroying infrastructure critical to the other's war effort.
U.S. Special Counsel Jack Smith has asked a federal appeals court to revive the criminal case accusing Donald Trump of retaining classified documents. That's after a Trump-appointed judge in a lower court dismissed the indictment in July, ruling that Smith was unlawfully appointed and did not have the legal authority to bring the case. Smith's Monday court filing argued that Eileen Cannon was wrong in ruling that U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland's decision to appoint Smith in 2022 violated the U.S. Constitution. Smith and his team urged the appellate court to reverse her order and to schedule oral arguments, writing that Cannon had, quote, deviated from binding Supreme Court precedent and also misconstrued the statutes that authorize the special counsel's appointment. In the case, Trump was indicted on charges that he willfully retained sensitive national security documents at his Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida after leaving office in 2021 and obstructed government efforts to retrieve the material. Trump's lawyers had previously challenged the legal authority for Smith's appointment, arguing that Smith's office was not created by Congress and the special counsel was not confirmed by the Senate. Cannon's decision to dismiss the case came not long after the Supreme Court ruled that Trump had broad criminal immunity from prosecution for official actions he took during his time in office. Her ruling marked a legal victory for Trump, but has also faced staunch criticism, with many attorneys saying it flies in the face of prior court decisions which all upheld the legality of rules the Justice Department has relied on for years to appoint special counsels. Trump's campaign said on Monday that the court should reject Smith's request, and that other cases the former president faces should be dismissed.
It's the U.S. government versus two grocery store giants, as the trial to block the $25 million merger between Kroger and rival Albertsons kicked off in federal court on Monday. The U.S. Federal Trade Commission and several states have sued the grocers on the grounds that the proposed deal would eliminate competition, resulting in higher prices for shoppers and less bargaining power for unionized grocery workers. Kroger and Albertsons argue that the merger is necessary in order to compete with the likes of Walmart, the largest grocery retailer in the U.S., as well as Costco and Amazon, which owns Whole Foods. It's a high-profile case for the Biden administration as it looks to lower prices for consumers. Higher grocery bills are also an issue in the presidential race between Democratic Vice President Kamala Harris and her Republican rival, former President Donald Trump. The trial is also a key test of FTC Chair Lina Khan's initiative to use antitrust law to boost wages and mobility for workers. Labor has been an area of focus for Khan, a former law professor and congressional antitrust counsel who took the reins of the agency in mid-2021. Kroger, for its part, has said it will sell about 1/10 of the approximately 5,000 stores it would own if the deal is allowed to go through. The grocer has also pledged to slash prices at stores by $1 billion after the merger. The trial is expected to last around 3 weeks.
Premature Palestinian babies were being evacuated from the main hospital in Gaza's Deir Bala on Monday, following new evacuation orders issued by Israel. The United Nations said humanitarian aid operations in the area have ground to a halt as a result of the new orders, and more families have been forced to flee. Some now live in makeshift tents on the beach in Gaza's Khan Yunis.
We are ordinary people, peaceful people. We have nothing to do with what is happening. We end up stepped on like this. They want Hamas. Where are they? Have the Israelis caught them? They only caught the people and destroyed the people. They have sent them back to the Stone Age. All of our life's harvest is gone. Bulldozers have run over our house and flattened it, leaving no trace. All the shops are gone. Why? What have we done? We have been displaced 4 times in 2 days. We were displaced twice in 1 day and 1 night.
Israel has issued several evacuation orders across Gaza in recent days, the most since the beginning of the 10-month-old war. Israel said its forces intended to act against Hamas and other militant groups operating in the area. On Monday, medics said Israeli military strikes killed several Palestinians. The recent escalation comes with little hope of an end in sight to the war, as diplomacy efforts by Qatar, Egypt, and the United States have so far failed to close the gap between Israel and Hamas, whose leaders trade blame over the lack of a ceasefire agreement. According to 2 Egyptian security sources, neither Hamas nor Israel agreed to several compromises presented by mediators at talks in Cairo on Sunday.
Scores of people were killed in the Pakistan province of Baluchistan when separatist militants attacked police stations, railways and highways, accompanied by retaliatory operations from security forces. That's according to officials on Monday. The assaults were the most widespread in years by ethnic militants, who are fighting for Baluchistan to secede from the rest of the country. The southwestern province is rich in resources and also hosts significant projects led by China. Interior Minister Mohsin Naqvi said these attacks are a calculated attempt to create chaos in Pakistan.
We have a good idea of who planned this and who is behind them. These attacks are a well-thought-out plan and carried out in 1 day. We consider it an attack on us. One thing is sure, that the entire leadership has decided to respond with full force.
Pakistan's military said 14 soldiers and police and 21 militants were killed in fighting after the largest of the attacks, which targeted buses and trucks on a major highway. Baluchistan's chief minister said nearly 40 civilians were also killed. The Baluch Liberation Army, armed militant group, took responsibility for the operation. In a statement to journalists, they claimed more attacks over the last day that had not yet been confirmed by authorities as of early Monday. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif vowed that security forces would retaliate and bring those responsible to justice.
Switzerland is finally catching up with other European countries when it comes to electronic payments. Swiss companies and consumers are now able to make ultra-fast electronic payments that allow credit transfers within 10 seconds, instead of waiting days for a transaction to clear. Electronic payments have been around in Europe since 2017 and in the US since last year. AI is a key feature that powers the development of such payments. But the Swiss have been quite attached to their physical money. According to a Swiss National Bank survey earlier this year, cash remains the most accepted method of payment by companies with physical points of sale. That's despite the rise of mobile payment apps. The SNB reported that around 60 financial institutions are now able to receive and process instant payments. That covers more than 95% of Swiss retail transactions. They also predicted that all financial institutions in Switzerland will be on board by the end of 2026. The SNB report stated, "This market launch represents a further important milestone and reflects the collective stakeholder commitment to the future of cashless payments in Switzerland." According to the European Central Bank, the use of instant payments in Europe has risen from 5.2% of all credit transfers in October 2019 to 17.8% in February this year.